At this stage, I feel genuinely sad for Jadon Sancho. After what happened last year, playing and starting in a Champions League final, you would imagine that he can finally move on from this nightmare he's had at Manchester United. However, he's come back and has started in quite a few pre-season games, playing at the left wing against Rangers and even starting up top. And the reason why that is important is because this same thing happened only last year. Jadon Sancho in pre-season started almost every game other than against Real Madrid and RC Lens, starting up top as a number 9 in quite a few of them. And then the first game of the season at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers, where is he? He's not starting. He wouldn't start any game. And then, of course, was left out of the squad against Arsenal, which, of course, this entire controversy began. He went to Dortmund, and he did look like he was a lot more freer, so to say. He didn't put in incredible goals and assists by any means. However, his performances looked a lot more like the Jadon Sancho of old. The highlight, of course, is the semi-final against PSG in the Champions League man of the match performance. In that game, he made 18 dribble attempts and completed 13 of them. He won the vast majority of his ground duels. He had a great pass percentage. He had 100 touches on the ball. He was the main attacking threat for Dortmund in the semi-final of the Champions League. Every single person would have imagined he would have gone back to Dortmund. However, it's not worked out. Comment down below your thoughts on Jadon Sancho. I can't believe this is still going on. I can't believe it. Like, he's played almost every preseason game and then is just kicked out of the team by the first game of the season again. Like, subscribe, Vizeh Designs for the best football prints, all made by myself. Use code United for 15% off all items, and let's go. Well, obviously Dortmund would love to keep Sancho. However, they just don't have the money to do so. They only have around, allegedly, 65 million, which is a lot of money. However, that sum would probably go all towards Jadon Sancho. That would mean that other areas of the squad would not be able to be sufficiently improved. They would have wanted to get Sancho on a loan deal instead. However, United would not want that. And then Ten Hag came out, who of course was led to believe to be departing United, to be sacked by the end of the FA Cup final. They instead won it, and he then stayed on. And then he came out saying that there's now been a line drawn in the sand between Sancho and himself, and that they can move on. However, deja vu's come up again. He then started the vast majority of games in pre-season for Manchester United, even starting up top, and then in the first game of the actual season is not even starting, but is not even on the bench. He's out of the squad. Now, to add to why he was out of the squad, here's what Ten Hag said. First of all, we need squad depth. This season will be the survival of the fittest. Jadon in the week had an ear infection. He could play, but we make the choice, and we preferred others on the bench. But that could change. Sometimes frustrating for the player, but it is about the team, the club, and we expect them to fight for the club. This then led to the question of why Antony was put on the bench ahead of Sancho, despite him not starting a single one of the pre-season fixtures. It is also important to highlight that Sancho did not start in the Community Shield either, and of course came on and missed his penalty. That maybe could play a factor mentally as well. I really want him just to leave United at this stage, and the reason why I'm doing this video is because it's a continuous thing, and the fact that this is literally the same thing that happened last season again. He played the vast majority of preseason games, playing as a striker or number 9 or false 9 or whatever you want to say, and then when it actually comes to the actual game, he's not even involved. Now, am I saying that Sancho should be the starting player for United? Well, it's going to be a tough one because he's obviously got competition. The main competition is, of course, Amad Diallo. And, of course, with Amad is Alejandro Garnacho. Now, if the idea is to focus more on the younger players that you feel like can get much more development and can grow into a better footballer, I don't think that is an unreasonable statement to have. I don't think that's unreasonable at all. And if you want to focus on Alejandro Garnacho and Amad Diallo on the right-hand side, For me, that's reasonable, but just let Sancho go. There has been reports in the last couple of days that Jadon Sancho does indeed want to move. Shock, horror. And with this departure from the squad, it looks like that will only heat things up. That club in question is, of course, PSG, with, of course, Mbappe gone and the entire kind of galactical era of PSG now over. They may be interested to play him, and I think he'll do quite well over in France. However, the issue with United is that they want their money's worth. How much would they want? Well, 16 million euros. Don't forget the amount of money they spent him in the first place, which according to reports is around 85 million euros. Don't forget as well, this is why this is annoying to me the most, is that this entire Jadon Sancho to United saga wasn't just over one window. This was a saga that lasted 2 years, where they should have got Sancho in a year prior to signing him, and they couldn't make a deal with Dortmund and had to go back in again to actually go get their man, and it's just kind of fallen apart in the most pathetic way possible. There is the element of midfielder Manuel Ugarte as well, that there could be some sort of swap deal there, and that could be possible. And as a Burnley fan, United have been linked to Sander Berg, and I kind of hope this deal can get done so that they can hopefully leave us alone. Manchester United need good players, and Jadon is a good player. We have drawn that line and we move on. However, has done the same thing that he's done prior. Looking more towards Manchester United for this season, and I can't help but feel like they are doing some decent bits of business. They are bringing in some players that I think does make them a better squad. However, it does more feel like they're just turning into another Ajax. Of course, Mazuri and Lit from Bayern Munich is an interesting piece of business that I don't think is actually bad. It just leads to more ex-Ajax players coming to the club, I guess. However, I can't help but be a bit concerned about when they played Fulham, how simply open they are at the back still. Like, Fulham had so many attacks on the transition. United being caught out time and time again, and if they just took their chances, it would be a different game. And I'm slightly concerned that we saw the same thing last season, and it looks like it is still a problem. And I kind of also forget that Mason Mount is still at United. That transfer baffles me to this day. I had a little glance of how he did last year. Of course, he did have a bad injury, near the start of the season. He was out for a good chunk of it, and in the 14 games he played, 5 starts, 1 goal and 0 assists, and it's just a thing of I just don't trust any young players going to Man United. I simply don't. And what makes it so sad is that Mason Mount scored a 96th minute winner against Brentford last year that you felt like would be a massive moment for him to really revive his United career, for then Brentford to score an equaliser 3 minutes later in the 99th minute. And then the next game was Chelsea, where they were 3-2 up in the 99th minute. And they lost the game, with Mason Mount going back to Chelsea, having a bit of scuffles with Enzo, and then to lose. I just feel bad for the guy. And another reason why I just don't trust young players going to United is, well, of course, there's obviously the demand and the expectation that may overwhelm them, but also, what happened with Lenny Euro? Well, when he signed, they already knew that he had a bit of an injury issue, even prior, and there's one thing buying him when there was already a bit of an injury risk. They already scanned him and already saw a metatarsal issue immediately, but yet still played him in a pre-season friendly almost immediately. What's the point? It's just little things like this that makes you scratch your head thinking, who's actually thinking here? But part of me still wants to trust them, because I just think it is inevitable that one day they will get it right. One day. I just don't know when that day will be. But clearly my predictions, I put them third. So please back me here, lads. Comment down below your thoughts on Sancho. I really hope that he just leaves, and I think PSG would be a good piece of business for him. I'm just sad that it's just the same thing that happened again. Starts most preseason games and then not even in the squad. You can say that he has an ear infection, but that doesn't really impact how you play football. I'm not having that, at least to be on the bench. And if you were to say to me, who would I rather start, Sancho or Ahmad or Garnacho on the right hand side, then yeah, I probably wouldn't start Sancho. If clearly you want to look ahead to the future, and don't forget Antony is also a right winger too, so there's actually also Antony in conversation. If he's not going to get started, if you want to look towards the future, then just go and do it. So I think it's just best for all parties just to let him go. Just please, man. Comment down below your thoughts. See you next time. See ya.